Hello and welcome. This will be the last topic as far as anthropological theories are concerned. So, this is a post-modernism. We have to understand that after completing this topic, our chapter 6 of paper 1 is complete. So, you don't have to go and write down notes from various sources, the notes are enough. They'll supplement your need of 150 to 250 words, and apart from this, if you want to add something, gladly you can. So the postmodernism, it is basically came as a critic of science, because up to this particular point science used to be something as a life changer. Science was something which would do miracles, and people were happy to see the uses of science. But when this nuclear bomb, this type of destructive weapons came in the picture, that was the time when people, they went back a step back, because they realized that even science has its limitation. So postmodernism is basically a critic of science. Postmodernism emerged as a theoretical perspective in anthropology. It emerges as theoretical perspective in anthropology. And you see, back this time, that is the postmodernism, when it came to the picture. Okay, this happened basically around 1980s. Okay, so subjectivity was something which had creeped into anthropology, and this subjectivity was criticized by James Clifford Stephens and Michael Foucault. Okay, we have to understand that because of this subjectivity, the interpretation of the different culture, this particular thing led to the subjectivity in the postmodernism era. And now, if we talk about the background, there were many assumptions which were made in the 20th century about the fieldwork and ethnography. Fieldwork and ethnography. Now, this particular part, that is the subjectivity and the assumptions in the 20th century, which were basically fieldwork and ethnography, etc., it became a subject of debate. This became subject of debate. And the historical background, if we talk about the anthropologists such as James Clifford, Stephen and Michael Foucault, they criticized the subjectivity in anthropology. And Foucault, he argued that those in political power were able to shape the way accepted truth is defined. You see, there is a very famous proverb which is said that the dumb criminal breaks the law and the smart criminal makes the law. Here, this thing is very important, because this is the exact thing said by Michael Foucault, but in the different way. He said that those people in political power were able to shape the way accepted truth is defined. It means that the truth was only that what the people in political power said. Now, if we talk about the basic premise or the area of study of postmodernism, okay, so we'll find that the postmodernism, where it accepts the systematic skepticism of grounded theoretical perspective. Well, I'll write down. It accepted the skepticism of grounded theoretical perspective Second is that the postmodernist, they concentrate on the tension of difference and similarity erupting from the process of globalization. So they focused on this thing, that is the tension which arised from this two process, that is difference and similarity. And these difference and similarity were the result of globalization, and the role of modern or post modernist anthropologist was to find out or to concentrate on the topics such as tension, which was the result of difference and similarity between the people, which was brought out by globalization. The next here is this postmodernism is basically divided into two camps. Okay, the first is the skeptics. Skeptics are the people who are having doubt, and the second is affirmatives. Okay, now the skepticist, they are extremely critical of modern, extremely critic of modern subject, and they reject these theories. They reject theories, okay, and no theory considered more correct than other, and they says that if this is correct, then this is also correct. So he says that no theory is more correct than others. So this is the skeptics. Now the affirmative says they basically rejected the theories. The way skeptics, they also rejected the theory first. Second is that they do not felt the need feel that the theory need to be abolished, but they merely transformed. So they were basically less rigid. Okay, this is the third. Now the fourth point here is that the self-reflexivity. See, as far as any particular part is concerned, we have to understand this thing, that reflexivity is going to be in everything. The way you write, the way you talk, the way you learn, you will have yourself in that, and that is how the things are going to happen. So postmodernists, they also believe in self-reflexivity, and the postmodernists believe that anthropological texts are influenced by, they says that this text, that is anthropological texts, are influenced by political, economic, social, and all other contexts that they basically come in contact with, and they claim that acceptance of the interpretation is ultimately an issue of wealth and power. So wealth and power is something which is basically the claim that postmodernists understand or ultimately issues. Now the methodology or the method of study. Methodology. As far as the methodology is concerned, very important thing is on deconstruction and to explain the text. Explain the text to reveal underlying biasedness in interpretation. Second is the intuitive interpretation. The third is the focus on field work. Now we'll talk about certain achievement. If we talk about certain achievement, we understand that first they were able to explain. They were able to provide the explanation for their theory. Second is that they did the critical examination. They did critical examination of ethnographic explanation. Critical examination of ethnographic explanation. Third is that it lead to heightened sensitivity in collection of data. Collection of data. It became more sensitive. But at the same time, we have to understand that the accomplishments also come with criticism. So as far as the criticism is concerned, Melford Spiro argued that post-modernism can't dismiss scientific method. So Melford Spiro says that the postmodernism cannot dismiss the scientific method without objective procedure, and some think that postmodernism has introduced political bias. Some says that postmodernism have introduced political biasness in anthropology. Some opponent argued that postmodernism will undermine basic universal human rights, and it will also even justify dictatorship. Fourth is, okay, I think three are enough. We'll just conclude. Now, concluding this, we have to understand that we can safely say that anthropologists realize that the knowledge of others is possibly subjective and imperfect, but that does not mean that it is impossible to study human and their culture scientifically. Alright, so I'll repeat what I said. It is that like that. To conclude this particular part, we can safely say that anthropologists realized that their knowledge of others is possibly subjective and imperfect, but that does not mean that it is impossible to study human and their culture scientifically. So that is to conclude this particular unit. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned. If you haven't subscribed, kindly please subscribe.